managed to get my hands on, and I wish I knew where it came from, but I don't remember, a disposition of forces for the Salvation Army for November 1922. You'll see Divisional Headquarters is at James and Albert Street. And this was for the Canada, East, Bermuda, and Newfoundland Division. Bramwell Booth is the general of the day. Commissioner Charles Soughton, not a name I'm familiar with. 1922, these are the days of my grandfather. The gentleman here, gentleman there in the back corner, who I've spoken about before. This is World War II, but he was accepted as a Salvation Army officer January 4th, 1916. So he should be in here. He's not. And my suspicion is, I know he was out for a bit. He was not a Salvation Army officer for a bit, so my assumption is that this might have been the time he wasn't in. Unfortunately, the cover is a little worse for wear, but it's a fascinating book, and I thought maybe you might like to see just a little bit of it. Divisional Headquarters, Colonel John McMillan, who is clearly related to Susan McMillan, grandfather, might be great uncle, not sure. 279 Corps. You'll see there's 64 schools, and war cries are mentioned here. They sell 31,000 or give them away. Young soldiers 14,300. That's how you communicated in the day. The offices are small. There's the field department under Lieutenant Colonel Gideon Miller, and could talk a lot more about him. In the Young People's Department, Ensign Rufus Spooner, names that I'm familiar with. Finance Department, there we go. Lieutenant Colonel John Nobles, the Finance Secretary of the day. Over in the Property Department, pretty small. Property Department, under Brigadier Alfred Jennings. A work section, candidate section, trade department, interesting. Here's a tailoring department, Mr. Anderson, and a dressmaking department. Printing, subscribers, that's for all those war cries and young soldiers. Over to the praying league. Pensioned retired officers are listed here. And then here's an interesting one, the Immigration Department, headquarters for Dominion of Canada, so this must be the whole country. Brigadier Tudge seems to be in charge, acting resident. There are branch offices. There's these newcomers' inns, children's receiving homes, women's lodges. Fascinating. Under Territorial Headquarters comes the men's social work. You'll see there's prison work is included in there, and the various locations. On this side, continuing down, locations, industrial store and paper warehouse, London. There's an interesting one. And as we go down, industrial home and ex-prisoner's home, and there's the Ottawa work. Page 9 takes us to the industrial department. Fascinating. Much of the early work of the Army was putting people to work, helping them find employment, getting them out of prison, and setting them up with skills and opportunity to learn and to be able to make a living on their own. Over to page 10, the women's social work. Brigadier Dispo, and different locations. Of course, the Grace maternity hospitals and rescue homes being for women who were pregnant, unmarried, and lots of locations of the maternity homes and hospitals in those days. Over the page, St. John, New Brunswick, of course, Sydney, and then the Toronto City. The training college is next up. Who was the training college principal? Lieutenant Colonel William Bettridge. And we got a women's wing, we got cadet sergeants, men's wing, and the list of the cadets of the day. Then you get to the divisions. Toronto West Division, Brigadier Walton. What's interesting, so this book is 100 years old now, and every once in a while you come across where somebody had updated the listing. Toronto East, Brigadier Moore, Bowmanville, Campbellford, Lindsay, Port Hope, Peterborough, and into Toronto. The London Division, 34 Clarence Street. Want to look it up on Google Map. Brigadier Creighton's the divisional commander. Elmer, Chatham, Dresden, Essex, Forest, Kingsville, Leamington, 4 Corps in London, Norwich, Petrolia, on your way over to Sarnia, Ridgetown. Wendy and I were there in the summer for a visit when we were cadets. St. Thomas, Thetford, Tillsonburg, Wallaceburg, 2 Corps in Windsor and 1 in Woodstock. And the Stratford Division, Major Byers, which included Goderich and Hanover. There's Listowel, home to us for a few years. Mount Forest, Owen Sound, Seaforth, St. Mary's, Stratford, Wyerton, Wingham, and then the Hamilton Division, Lieutenant Colonel Hargrave, and Barry, Brantford. Strange that Barry would be in the Hamilton Division, just north of Toronto. Dundas, Dunville, Guelph, 4 Corps in Hamilton, Hespeler, Kitchener, Midland, Niagara Falls. Found this one interesting. North Bay Division, Brigadier McCammond, Bracebridge, Cochrane, Gravenhurst, Halbury, Huntsville, New Liskeard, Sault Ste. Marie, of course, way up to Timmins. A number of the divisions are quite tiny. Here's Ottawa. Arn Prior, Carleton Place, Kemptville, 2, 3 Corps in Ottawa. Ottawa 1, that became Ottawa Citadel. Perth, Renfrew, Smith Falls, Tweed, that's the whole division. Here's the Montreal Division, which included Brockville, Cornwall, Gananoque, Kingston, 5 Corps in Montreal, 7 Corps in Montreal, wow, and down to Picton. Down to St. John, New Brunswick, and Prince Edward Island. And that's where my folks were stationed in the early 60s. Divisional headquarters was then in 22, 120 Prince William Street. Amherst, Campbellton, Charlottetown. You'll see New Breton, 2 Corps in Moncton, 4 Corps in St. John, New Brunswick. Summerside, Sussex, Woodstock. You always see that there are officers who are furloughing or without appointment. They're out of their appointments for health or other reasons. And Bermuda is not a division, it's a district. And 4 places over the page to the Halifax Division. Strangely enough, what's strange to me, Sydney Division, very tiny, just a few places. And then Newfoundland Sub-Territory, and you'll see where the Corps is, Springdale and George Streets. They got 89 Corps, 73 outposts, and this is where the schools are. Sub-territories divided into districts. A number of those. Channel District. And you'll see there seems to be an officer in charge of a district. This has got a lot of changes written into it. Here you go, the Newfoundland Educational Districts and Schools. Staff Captain Artilly is the Superintendent and Education Secretary. And then here you go, here's your teachers who are all officers, or almost all officers. I see one not there. And then a separate listing of just where the schools were and who was in charge. You'll see one is in charge. Fortune, Corcadet, Jennings. Corcadet had a different meaning in those days. There's another one, Corcadet Abbott. The back page is interesting. Fortunately, it's a little worse for wear, but this is your statistics for the Canada, East, Bermuda, and Newfoundland territory. And by category, there's your divisions, training college, and then down. And then up here is really interesting. There's actually a listing. This way you can see by rank. So commissioners and colonels, lieutenant colonels, brigadiers, majors, staff captains, staff wives. I don't think staff wives was a rank. Commandments, commandants, adjutants sounds always, ensigns, captains, lieutenants, field wives, lovely, cadets, employees, and then the totals of them all. Disposition of forces, Canada, East, Bermuda, and Newfoundland, and it was received. Territorial Headquarters, there's the stamp, November 1922. A little look back in history, the Salvation Army.